The aliens arrived on a Tuesday, not with a bang, not with conquest, not even with much ceremony. They just showed up above Earth's atmosphere in a sleek obsidian cruiser the size of Manhattan, transmitted a polite introduction in over 200 languages, and requested permission to conduct a non-disruptive cultural survey. The United Nations issued a mutual cooperation accord within 48 hours. By Friday, the aliens were already laughing at our ruins. Zane Lasker wasn't a diplomat. He wasn't a soldier either. He was a field systems engineer for the North American Antiquities Registry, which sounded more impressive than it was. His days mostly involved data entry and hiking out to remote sites with a multispectral scanner and a lunchbox. But when the aliens who called themselves the Vetrans asked to examine Earth's oldest ruins, Zane got pulled in as a field liaison. He stood now beside a half-buried ziggurat in central Peru, squinting up at the Vetran who floated 3 feet off the ground. Its skin was a smooth, reflective bronze, its face an unreadable mask of overlapping plates. It had no eyes, just a glowing blue slit across where its forehead might be. It hadn't even introduced itself. "Can't believe this thing is still standing," Zane said, brushing dirt off a stone carving. "It's pre-Incan, older than Machu Picchu. No one knows who built it." The Vetrans translator emitted a digital chuckle. "Primitive stacked stones, no magnetic lattice, no osmotic shielding. You used gravity to hold your walls up." Zane didn't respond. He just knelt and activated his scanner, watching it hum to life with a satisfying click. The alien hovered closer, emitting another burst of laughter. "You used these places for rituals. Primitive superstition. Why preserve them?" Zane stood. "Because they're part of who we were." "You might not get it, but they matter." Sentiment. Inefficient. The Vetrans continued their global tour, visiting temples, burial mounds, stone circles, and ancient cities. At every stop, they laughed. Holographs of the ruins filled Vetran databases, each one tagged with condescending commentary. Earth's media tried to spin it as cultural appreciation, but Zane knew better. The aliens thought of humanity as quaint, backward, harmless, and then they reached the Sundial. It wasn't on any official registry. The Sundial was buried deep in the Algerian desert, a site so remote that only satellite archaeology had flagged it. Zane had hiked there once, years ago, with a grad student named Talia Zinter, who later took a job cataloging anomalous magnetic signatures in North Africa. She'd always said the site gave her the creeps. The locals wouldn't go near it. But now, a Vetran research delegation had declared it the oldest unexamined site of human origin, and Earth's authorities, eager to impress their guests, approved immediate access. Zane was flown in with a small team. When the dropship landed, the sandstorm had just cleared, revealing the exposed top of a circular stone structure unlike anything he'd ever seen. The central disk was 500 feet across, made of a dull metallic alloy that didn't match any Earth composition. Strange grooves spiraled outward from a central point. There were symbols too deep carved, geometric, and entirely alien, not human, not Incan, not Sumerian, not anything. Zane approached it cautiously. His scanner flickered, then shut off. He slapped it. Nothing. "Electromagnetic interference?" Talia asked, stepping beside him. She looked older now, her sunburnt face framed by wind-tousled hair. "Or power," Zane muttered. "Something's active down there." The Vetran observer floated down from their ship and scanned the structure with its own device. It emitted a chirp of confusion. "This is not of your making," it said. "You claim no authorship?" "No," Zane replied, eyes narrowing. "Do you?" The alien didn't answer. Instead, it hovered directly above the sundial's center, scanning deeper. Then something happened. The grooves in the stone began to glow, faint at first, then brighter, pulsing. The sand around the structure vibrated, lifting into the air in a slow cyclone. The temperature plummeted. Zane stumbled back. Everyone off the platform. Now, Talia grabbed his arm, dragging him down the slope as the light intensified. The Vetran didn't move. It hovered over the dial, fixated. A low hum filled the desert, rising in pitch until glass in their equipment shattered. The central disk split open with a grinding roar, revealing a pit of rotating machinery beneath. Giant spires rose from the ground, each etched with unfamiliar glyphs. The alien finally backed away, its translator stuttering. This is not human. This predates your civilization. This is not in our records. The structure roared to life. A beam of white-blue light shot into the sky, punching through the atmosphere. In low orbit, the Vetran cruiser began to tilt. Zane, look, Talia shouted, pointing upward. The cruiser was listing, its stabilizers flickering. Systems on board were failing one by one. The lights across its hull went dark. Zane stared at the sundial. It's targeting them. The beam intensified. The cruiser exploded in silence, a bloom of fire and debris raining down. The Vetran on the ground emitted a shriek of radio static and bolted skyward, breaking atmospheric limits in seconds. Then silence. The beam vanished. The grooves stopped glowing. The spires receded. The sundial shut itself down. Zane stood frozen. "What the hell is this thing?" Talia whispered. "I don't know," he said, "but it's not a ruin, it's a weapon." Over the following days, the world reeled. The Vetrans pulled all diplomatic envoys back into orbit. Their remaining ships formed a tight perimeter around Earth, but none approached the surface. The UN scrambled to analyze the site, but every team sent in reported equipment failure, nausea, and hallucinations. One drone simply melted midair. Zane was called to Geneva. Inside a secure UN compound, he was shown satellite footage of the sundial reactivating briefly during an orbital scan. No one had gone near it since. "You were the closest when it activated," said Director Talver of UN Space Affairs. "You and Zinter, we need to know what triggered it." "I didn't do anything," Zane said. "The Vetrans scanned it." "That's when it came online, so it's defensive, seems like it." Talver leaned forward. "The Vetrans have labeled Earth a Class Red anomaly. They're not attacking, but they're watching closely. We need to understand what that structure is, who built it." "Why?" Zane hesitated. "You think it wasn't human?" Talver looked grim. "That thing's older than human civilization, maybe older than Earth. We think it was buried here deliberately." Later, Talia met Zane outside the compound. She handed him a cracked tablet with old field notes from their first visit. "Look at this," she said. He flipped through until he reached a sketch she'd made. The grooves on the sundial matched an ancient stellar alignment, one that hadn't occurred in over 70,000 years. Zane blinked. "That's before Homo sapiens." "Exactly," Talia said. "Whatever built that isn't from here. But it left that thing behind, maybe for us, or maybe for them." Zane looked up at the sky. The Vetran ships remained motionless. "So now what?" he asked. Talia folded her arms. "We wait, or we dig." Zane didn't sleep that night. He kept thinking about the sundial, about the way it had waited in silence for millennia, buried beneath the sand, misidentified as a ruin, and how it only woke when an alien touched it. He remembered what the Vetran had said, how it wasn't in their records, which meant something worse. The Vetrans hadn't built it, but something else had, something scarier, and it had left a warning behind, buried in Earth's skin. And now it was awake. By the second week after the sundial incident, the air over southern Algeria had stabilized into a kind of tense vacuum. Civilian flights were rerouted, military satellites blinked nervously over its coordinates, and Earth's major powers took turns holding their breath. The Vetrans hadn't left, but they hadn't come back either. Their ships hung like brooding ornaments in low orbit, just outside targeting range of any terrestrial defense system which, after the sundial display, everyone quietly agreed was more symbolic than effective. No one went near the site anymore, except Zane. He sat on the tailgate of a 6-wheeled rover, sifting through a brass container of protein bars that had melted together during the trip. Sand clung to his eyebrows, and the back of his neck buzzed from the solar radiation. He'd been camped just outside the sundial's perimeter for 3 days, sleeping in shifts with Talia in a heat-sealed tent that made everything smell faintly like plastic and vinegar. "You know," he said, prying a fused bar off the stack, "someone should have warned us that alien tech causes a total collapse of refrigeration logistics." Talia crouched by the rover's scanning rig, adjusting the thermal lens with a screwdriver taller than her forearm. "You're assuming it's alien." "We still don't know if it was built by someone else they never met." "Which is worse," Zane said. Either it's theirs and they forgot where they parked it, or it's someone else's, and that someone else had the budget for planetary defense systems before we invented alphabet soup. Talia didn't laugh. She held up a data slate. Temperature spikes at the core every 4 hours and 11 minutes. Like it's breathing. Regular, controlled, and it's not random, there's a pattern to the heat signature. Heartbeat, maybe, or a timer. Zane chewed his bar thoughtfully. What if it's warming up? Before she could answer, the rover's proximity alert chirped. Both of them froze. A figure approached from the eastern dune, gliding a few inches above the sand. Not Vetran. It was too small, too angular. The torso tapered into a narrow obsidian waist with 4 jointed limbs that moved in unsettling harmony. A disc rotated slowly where a head might have been. "What is that?" Zane whispered. "Not one of theirs," Talia said, lowering the slate. "That's new." It stopped 20 feet from camp and projected a low hum. Then, without warning, it folded in on itself like an origami crane collapsing into a dot. The sand where it vanished steamed. Talia ran to the spot. No trace, no residue, not even a footprint. Zane's mouth went dry. Did it look like it was scanning us? It didn't care we were here. It was watching the sundial. They didn't sleep that night. By morning, an unmarked aircraft landed near the outer fence, its engines whisper quiet. 3 figures stepped out, all in identical suits with a matte gray finish and no insignia. Not military. Not science corps. Zane recognized the lead one immediately. Dr. Mira Haverson, an exoplanetary systems expert who'd vanished from the public eye after the Mars anomaly a year ago. She didn't introduce herself. "You've been camping on top of a machine older than your species," she said, setting down a black case. "We're going in." Zane blinked. "Going in? There's an access point. We've confirmed it. No one's managed to get within 30 meters without vomiting blood. Then we'll use someone who already has." She turned to Talia. "Your EEG from 5 days ago showed neural adaptation. The structure's emissions are synchronizing with your brain waves." Talia took a step back. "That's not a good thing. It's not bad either. It means you can enter without triggering the failsafe." "What failsafe?" Dr. Haverson opened the black case. Inside was a small sphere, pulsing gently. "This started ticking when the cruiser exploded. It's counting down. To what? We don't know. But the Vetrans have moved 2 orbital stations into alignment with the sundial. They're not posturing anymore. They're scared." Zane stepped between them. "Why Talia? She's been here longest. Her neural rhythms match the pulse intervals. If anyone can get inside, it's her." Talia folded her arms. "And what happens if I can't?" Dr. Haverson didn't answer. 2 hours later, under a sky thick with dust and tension, Talia approached the sundial. She wore a self-contained biosuit lined with conductive gel, tethered by a cable to the rover's diagnostic array. Zane monitored her vitals on a screen, jaw clenched. She stepped onto the outer ring, no reaction. Another step. Then another. When she reached the central groove, the surface rippled beneath her boots like water disguised as metal. "I'm still here," she said, voice crackling over comms. "Vitals steady," Zane replied. "No anomalies in pressure or temperature." "You're clear." She knelt, brushed her gloved hand over the symbols. They lit up under her touch, not blue this time, but amber, like the glow of dying stars. A thin seam opened beside her, revealing a recessed chamber. "It's hollow," she said. "Don't go in alone." She glanced back. "Already am." Then she vanished inside. The chamber was low, no higher than her shoulders, and pitch black except for a faint glow emitted by the walls. As she stepped forward, the walls brightened, revealing intricate carvings, spirals, lattices, and something resembling constellations, but none matched known star maps. "This place isn't dead," she whispered. "It's listening." Zane's voice came thinly through static. "Copy that." "You're below surface level. Signal's weak." Talia reached a curved panel at the far end. Her fingers hovered above it. "Touching anything yet?" Zane asked. "Not yet. I'm reading the symbols. They're mathematical, ratios, sequences." "It's not a language, it's an instruction set." "What's it instructing?" She pressed her palm against the panel. The floor dropped, not violently, more like an elevator descending without sound or inertia. The chamber widened into a circular atrium, suspended over a glowing pit. Massive pillars extended upward into infinity. each inscribed with moving symbols that rearranged themselves as she watched. "I think I'm inside its memory," she said. Zane tried to respond, but the comms cut out. Dr. Haverson frowned at the monitor. "She's gone below interference depth," Zane stood. "We need a backup plan. There isn't one." Inside the atrium, Talia approached a central pedestal. Suspended above it was a sphere similar to Haverson's, but this one pulsed faster. Much faster. She reached out. The moment her fingers grazed its surface, the chamber flooded with sound, not noise, but structured tones, like music written by an intelligence that had never known ears. Images flashed in her mind world, spinning into dust, fleets dissolving mid-flight, an army of ships fleeing from something vast and unseen. At the center of it all, the sundial. Not a weapon, not a beacon, a lock. She stumbled backward. It wasn't counting down to activation. It was counting down to release. The sundial wasn't built to destroy intruders. It was built to keep something in. She screamed. Above ground, the sky darkened, the Vetrans ships shifted, and the countdown ticked on. Talia didn't remember leaving the chamber. She came to under a white tarp, her back against a padded stretcher, the sky a bleached dome overhead. Her suit was half unzipped, a cold pack pressed against the side of her neck, and a portable Roman IV line taped to her arm. The wind had picked up. Grit tapped softly against the tent walls. Zane crouched nearby, typing into a field console. "You're back," he said, not looking up. Her throat rasped. "How long?" 6 hours. You stumbled out by yourself, collapsed 5 meters from the rim. Then your heart rate went weird fast, then slow. No arrhythmia, just... Wrong. She tried to sit up. Her chest tightened with the effort. "Don't," he said. "Your blood pressure's been yo-yoing. Haverson wanted to intubate you." "She's still here." She left an hour ago. Took the sphere and 2 of her team. "Didn't say where." Talia wiped dried sweat from her forehead with the back of her hand. "I saw a memory vault, not like a database, more like a living record. It was showing me things, not just visuals, feelings. I couldn't stop it." Zane finally looked at her. "You were screaming when you came out." "Something about a lock." "I thought it was a weapon. It's not. It's a lid." Zane's face twitched. "What's under it?" She hesitated. "Not a being, not a structure. I don't think it's alive in any way we understand. It felt like a pattern, a kind of instability. Like if you let it out, it doesn't destroy things, it unravels them, not by force, by making everything else forget how to hold together." Zane stood and paced a short circle. "Okay, so the superweapon is actually a cosmic garbage lid and the Vetrans triggered it." "No, it recognized them. That's why it reacted. They've encountered it before, or something like it." He stopped pacing. "Then why would they come here? They're clearly terrified of the thing." "They didn't know it was here, or they thought it was dead." Zane crouched again. "You said a pattern, you mean like a virus." "No, viruses want to replicate. This thing wants absence. It's a shape that shouldn't exist, and when it's released, it makes other things forget how to be themselves." He exhaled slowly. "You sound like a philosopher." "I'm telling you what I felt." The sundial wasn't just built to contain it. It's also warning whoever finds it, but the warning's not visual. It's only understood through direct contact. Zane tapped the Roman IV line gently. "You're lucky that contact didn't cook your brain." "It might have. I keep getting flashes, not memories." "Concepts?" Like she closed her eyes. "A spiral of moons collapsing into each other. A sound so low it bends metal. A planet with no magnetic field, but everything on it still orbits." Zane stood again. "We're packing up." "You're not staying another night out here." At dusk, they began dismantling the camp. The wind had shifted westward, bringing with it a fine ash that didn't register on any of their particle filters. Zane zipped the last crate and secured it to the rover's rear rack. "Still no word from Haverson," he said. Talia sat on a folding stool, watching the sundial's silhouette against the orange sky. "She's not coming back. You think she went to warn someone? She's not a messenger. She's a collector." They drove through the night. By sunrise, they reached the edge of a mobile outpost stationed 70 kilometers from the sundial perimeter. 2 temporary towers scanned the horizon with LiDAR, and a group of researchers in modular suits huddled around a stack of folding monitors. Zane parked the rover beside a supply rig and helped Talia out. A medic approached with a scanner. "Vitals?" Zane handed over an encrypted drive. All logged. She needs a full neuro-eval and hydration. The medic nodded and led her toward the medbay. Talia walked slowly, her balance slightly off. Zane stayed outside, watching the sky. 10 minutes later, a Vetran descended, not from orbit, from the ground. It emerged from a tunnel entrance that hadn't been there the day before. Its chassis was matte white, angular, its limbs jointed in unfamiliar ways. This one was different from the others, smaller, but heavily shielded, with a thick band of reactive material encircling its midsection. Zane stepped forward. "Are you from the orbiting fleet?" The Vetran paused. Its translator buzzed. "No. I am from the archival division. You came from underground." "I was already here." Zane's mouth went dry. "How long since the last cycle?" "What cycle?" The Vetran didn't answer. It turned toward the Sundial's direction. "You knew what it was?" "Yes." "Then why didn't your fleet recognize it?" "They are young." Zane blinked. "You're saying they forgot?" The Vetran turned slightly. "They never knew." "Then how did you?" "I was not built by them. I was left to wait." Zane stepped closer. "Wait for what?" "For you." Inside the medbay, Talia's EG readings spiked. The technician monitoring her frowned. "She's dreaming." "No," the attending physician said. "She's sinking." Across the compound, the sky turned green for 2 seconds. The Vetran looked up. "It has begun." Zane's pulse jumped. "What has?" The Vetran faced him fully. "Containment is failing because the system recognizes your presence. It was designed to wait for you." "That makes no sense." "You were not meant to build civilization. You were meant to reach this." Zane laughed dryly. "That's funny. We thought the pyramids were for the afterlife. Turns out they were just road signs." The Vetran's plates shifted. "Most of your ruins are echoes, attempts to mimic something your ancestors never understood. But this one is real. So what do we do?" "You must finish the ritual." Zane stiffened. "What ritual?" The Vetran extended a small device. "The interface is biological. It must be completed by one who has touched the vault and survived." Zane took the device. "Talia," he ran. Inside the medbay, she was already sitting up. "I saw it again," she said. "This time clearer." Zane held out the device. "They said you're the key." She took it without hesitation. Outside, the Vetran walked beside them toward a new entrance forming on the Sundial's outer rim. The metal shifted, revealing a spiral staircase descending into darkness. Zane stopped short. "You're sure?" Talia gave a small nod. "It doesn't feel like fear. It feels like remembering something I never learned." She stepped down. The chamber below was smaller than the first. The walls shimmered with a fine mist, and in the center hovered a single panel, glowing with the same amber light as before. Talia pressed the device into the panel. The glow intensified, then dimmed. Outside, the sky cleared. The ash stopped falling. The Vetran turned to Zane. "Containment stabilized. The pattern is sealed." Zane exhaled slowly. "That's it." The Vetran's head tilted. "It was always meant to be you, not as a species, as individuals. You adapt without instruction. You endure without understanding." "That is rare." Talia emerged from the entrance, her expression calm. Zane walked to her. "Did it work?" "It's quiet now." Hours later, the Vetran ship departed. No message, no warning, just gone. The Sundial remained inert, the world moved on, and the pattern slept.